Man, it's like every time I get to recording this one video that I'm going to record eventually, right? But every time I'm like, okay, today's the day I'm going to do it. Something comes up to where it's like, oh, but this idea is going to take place of that video. Here is another video. I'm going to talk about this venti coffee bitch. But no, Brittany Venti. Now, I didn't know who this biracial woman was before, all this controversy of her doing blackface as a Halloween costume. And apparently she does blackface on the regular because she proclaims that, she does it because essentially to teach black people a lesson about their anti-blackness or their racism when it comes to biracial folks or mixed race folks. And she thinks it's justifiable for her to, do blackface essentially. I didn't know who this woman was until, again, I saw her on the timeline. I saw someone reference her yesterday being the day after Halloween. And I didn't think nothing of it because when the individual that I saw reference her didn't necessarily leave her name. He didn't say her name in a tweet. And I figured, oh, somebody did blackface for Halloween this year. Color me shocked as a colored person, right? But I'm like, okay, maybe he saw somebody on his timeline, somebody like he was either somebody white he knows or whatever the case is that he knows, or he just saw an example of it and he felt the way that he felt. And I thought, okay, yeah, it's fucked up, no surprise. And I would have the same reaction with Brittany Venti. Brittany Venti, right? I would have the same reaction too. Not that I don't care about blackface or whatever the case is, but because I know when people are doing things for reactions. And yes, Venti is doing things for a reaction as well. But here's my problem. She's a YouTube content creator who has been getting away with this. Apparently, her herself is saying this is a part of her shtick, right? And yet YouTube is allowing it. And yet again, I'm gonna constantly bring up, and I don't care. YouTube keeps suppressing me. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna constantly bring up that I've never broken any of YouTube's rules. They've suppressed me simply because they didn't like the things that I was saying about whatever president during whatever regime, right? Or I made a video saying, hey, YouTube and all these other places have made it clear, in a subtle way that they're going to suppress Donald Trump or coverage of Donald Trump. I made a video about that YouTube made me take down and then struck my channel for it. Just for them to come back this September, this past month or so, well, it's November now, so 2 months ago, just for them to come out and make a statement and say, yeah, actually, we were forced by the current, by the former administration, the Biden administration, to actually suppress news about anything that was true about Donald Trump, meaning that anything that was favorable in their eyes or anything that didn't make the Democrats look good, right? We were forced to suppress channels and flag stuff and pretty much do that, punish channels for pointing that out. Especially if it was something that made the previous presidential regime not paint them in the best light as possible, right? I get punished for that, but yet this woman is allowed to do blackface and her channel is allowed to thrive. And I'm going to keep calling out YouTube. I'm going to keep calling out this Venti bitch as well, because her excuse is unexcusable. And I've already, and I'm going to keep, saying it, but I've already, I guess, beat a dead horse when I talked about, or exposed really, the double standard and the bullshit. Yeah, that's what it is. The bullshit that YouTube of YouTube when they say we have rules, this, that, and the third. Clearly, the rules isn't enforced on everybody. If I were to do, I mean, if I was to do whiteface, even if I were to all the other rules against hate speech or whatever the case is, if I were to do that, my channel is done for. That video is flagged. The channel is done for. But she has a history of doing blackface, and because she justifies it as it being some heroic stance against bullies, black bullies against mixed folks, it's okay. But I, who don't identify as, MAGA, or don't even, none of that. But I bring up the fact that, hey, listen, if you really wanted to prove people wrong about Donald Trump, you would expose the numerous of actual shit that can be based as evidence as to why he is a terrible president. Do that instead of suppressing folks for exposing why the Democrats are trash. You know what I'm saying? As well. Me simply just saying that's a punishable offense. But her doing what she has been doing for some time, according to her, is not. Again, that's something that I'm going to continue bringing up as long as I'm on YouTube, and as long as I'm even off YouTube, because I've made blog posts, tweets, discussions about these things in general, right? Podcast episodes about that stuff. So that's something I'm always going to bring up until YouTube actually fixes that issue. And simply coming out in September saying, yeah, we were forced to strike channels down and shit. While you're still doing that, you're still punishing channels, get the fuck out of here, alright? Now on to this Venti bitch. Now, I get tired of mixed-race people who clearly identify more with their white side with their whole anti-blackness. I get tired of it. I'm not saying they have to identify with their black side. I'm not saying if they want to identify with their white side, cool. This is not on some you must identify with the side that I believe is, your better half, right? This is not that. This is me simply just saying you can identify with whatever side if you want to, if you choose to. But that doesn't mean you have to denigrate the other side. Which means if you were to identify with the black side, I still wouldn't think it's cool for a mixed race person to start denigrating their white side. Even if it's a toxic white side, or a situation where Venti may be in, where it's like her black side hasn't really accepted her. This whole idea of I've seen a lot of biracial people do this thing where they get upset, the ones who are anti-black, they get upset with black people as a whole based off of their trash ass family. Or a comment or two that, they didn't like from a family member, or from people, from black folks, black kids and shit. Like, come on now. Let's fucking be real. Like, I feel like this woman, if we were to really go back in the books, if I was to really look into this bitch, like, this individual probably got teased by somebody who, some youth, if not someone in her family, who tried to make her feel inferior because she's not, of a darker hue, right? You wouldn't know this woman is biracial if by looking at her. That's just me. I had to Google if she was even biracial to begin with, because I saw the tweet that I had plastered up. I saw that tweet before I even knew. I told you I don't know who she is. So it's like I saw the tweet before I even Googled who she is. And yeah, it had confirmed that she is multicultural, or at least that's how they put it. Biracial, multicultural. She put biracial in her tweet. I believe that's what she put, but that's exactly who she's describing. Nonetheless, Like what I've seen many Ventis before. And I ain't talking about no Venti designer shit or whatever the Venti last name makes, coffee or whatever, right? I'm talking about people like her. People who are biracial, multicultural, whatever. People who grew up and either they had a black father that was not in their life, or they had a black mother raised by a black mother who was very vindictive to them, right? The white father was even in their life, right? And when they tried to identify with their black side, right, they either had issues with their mom, they were beefing with their mom, or if again they didn't have their black father within their life, they internalized that, obviously, and a lot of that is what started their anti-blackness. But then they wanted to try to identify with other black folks within their family, possibly, maybe. And those people, because they were most likely related to the dad or the absentee parent, black parent, you know, that they were ugly and nasty to that little girl, or to the Ventis, whether it was a little girl or a little boy. Because I've seen both men and women react this way. Biracial men and women, the Ventis. Not all of them when I say the Ventis, but she's now being the spokesperson for this, right? Because she's the only one that I know of by name, or at least remember by name. Venti's an easy name to remember, alright? And so is her first name, Brittany. So there you go, bitch. There go the clout you were looking for. But I've seen situations like that. I've seen situations like that where, you know, that person ends up being the most anti-black individual and they think they're doing something noble. Like Venti was saying, letting her little long-ass tweet. Essentially, I'm fighting back against the anti-blackness or the racism that mixed folks deal with. I'm being a hero to all the mixed folks, and I'm sure she's got a mixed base or a base with people who are mixed in it, who be like, yeah, and then of course she got the white people that she's trying to impress, who are like, see, we're not racist, we're not, black people can be racist too. As if that justifies anything. Like, this whole idea of so-and-so can be racist too is so fucking ridiculous. It's like saying someone else actually does something too doesn't justify you doing it. I hope you know that. If I went around just slapping somebody, right? Slapping people in public, and yet I saw another YouTuber does it, right? And I would get on this video and be like, this YouTuber does it too. They go around just slapping people. It wouldn't justify me. You know? That's a lighthearted example compared to, you know, what many white folks say, many racist white folks say to justify their racism. But I'm making the point, in somebody else doing something doesn't justify your actions, especially if you are someone who believes you're more superior than that other person. If you believe you're more superior, how come your actions don't show that? If you're more superior than somebody else, then you should act that way. You should act more superior. You shouldn't carry yourself the same way someone else who is less superior than you does, and then justify it by saying, well, they do it too, but I'm still more superior. Get the fuck out of here. Anyways, back to Venti. I've seen many people like her where they've been hurt or teased by someone black, and instead of saying that's those people's fault, they want to make all of black people get the vitriol that they have for them, right? I've also seen those same people get hate by either their white side or just white people in general, and they don't look at all white people and say that. Now, I have seen a few, not a lot, but I have seen a few Biracial folks who identify more with their black side and hate white people because their white side was just super racist or just trashy individuals, right? I've seen that too. And like I said moments ago, I don't subscribe to that either. You know, I understand people telling their story. I'm all for Venti telling her story, just not in this way. Because this is not you telling your damn story. This is you thinking you're being a hero or justifying you're being a hero when in actuality what Venti is doing and what other people who have done what Venti has done, not to the extreme of doing blackface even when it's not Halloween, but what to the extent of just being anti-black, what they are really doing is just this idea of I'm going to be the bully now because I was bullied. I'm going from the victim to the bully and thinking that is okay. Again, I can go around slapping people because as a kid I was being slapped up. You know? Not true, but case in point, I can go around physically harming people because, and I did get into a lot of fights as a kid, so I will say that, but I wasn't being slapped up. Let's get that shit clear. But no, in all seriousness, I can go around fighting people because I got into fights as a kid all the time. I can go around teasing people because I got teased as a kid. Does it justify any of my actions? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I don't care how old this woman is. She looks old enough to know better. So that's why I'm talking to her in the way that I am. You know, she's old enough to know better. It don't matter if she's 24, 34, somewhere in between. She doesn't look older than that. And if she is older than that, then God bless her black genes that she hates so much because she don't look older than that. But in all seriousness though, like, she's old enough to know better that, hey, listen, even if you had you grew up, let's just say you grew up in a public school and there was a bunch of black kids, that whenever February came around and you tried to own up to your blackness or whatever, the black girl made fun of you and it was like, you're not black. You had black family members who disowned you because, again, your mom didn't really fuck with your black dad or whatever the case is. Or you had a black mom who was very much, angry toward you or whatever. She had maybe even jealous even, if that was even the case. I'm not saying these are always the cases here, but I'm just saying based off of stuff I'm seeing, and I'm not trying to justify the anti-blackness from these biracials who are these venti biracials, right? These venti coffee biracials. That's what I'm gonna call them from now, right? You know, I'm not justifying it, but I am saying that this anti-blackness didn't just come from being some edgelord out of nowhere. It came from a pain that they suffered as a child. Most of the time, when you look into these people's stories, I damn near want to say all the time, but I don't have the empirical data to back that up, so I'm going based off of observation. So most of the time when I observe these situations, it was hurt that they've had in the past. Again, an absentee black parent or a black parent that was there, that was present, but very much harmful to them, verbally abusive, even physically abusive to them. You know, a mother who thought having this baby by this white man was going to give her a better life, access to whiteness that she wouldn't have got it had she had a baby with a black man, right? And then all of a sudden she finds out this white man wants nothing to do with her. She was just a black jump off to him, and he doesn't even want to have this half white, half black baby with this woman. And she then takes that anger out, that embarrassment, that anger, that hatred toward him onto the child. I've seen situations like that. I've seen situations, like I said, where there's the black absent, there's the father who has a baby or gets a white woman pregnant, doesn't want anything to do with, doesn't want to take up the responsibility of it is to be a father. Child grows up without a dad. Child grows up hating black men or viewing black men this way. Black people in general, they don't necessarily know how to identify with blackness or their black side because, again, they were raised by a white mother or a non-black a mother who pretty much raised them to be whatever they are, whether white, Asian, whatever. And when they get around black people, like you can tell maybe by their looks that they're not 100% white or 100% Korean or 100% Indian, whatever the case is, right? Latino, whatever the case is. You can tell they're not 100% that, but they don't necessarily have, I guess I won't say an outlet, but a frame of reference per se to their blackness, because their black side of the family, their black dad wasn't around, or the black side of the family and them don't really hang out like that, and if there are times where they do see the black side, they're probably not the most probably, I'm not saying all the case, but in the situations I've seen, not the most welcoming to them because of that proximity relationship to that man, whatever the case may be. And it happens with the white side too. You're not going to be as friendly. They're not going to be as friendly because, again, that proximity to that white man or that white woman, whoever that white parent is. So it's like, yeah, of course we're going to side with the family. Again, I'm not justifying the hatred. I'm not justifying the families who take out whatever personal feelings they have on the children. The children are not at fault. None of us are asked to be born. If we're speaking on, we can talk about, spirituality and, your soul's purpose, this, that, and the third. We can get into that, not in this video. So on that standpoint, yeah, we are in a way asking to be born. But I'm saying, like, a lot of the struggles we deal with, we don't necessarily know we're going to deal with it. Or I won't say a lot of people know, like from birth or even before exiting the mama's womb, that they were going to go through the struggles that they are going through or have gone through within their life. So in that aspect, there is a sensitivity that I still even have for Venti and people like her. But nah, I'm not justifying her shit. Fuck out of here. I'm being as blunt as I want to be, but also not trying to. Because I'm not doing this to try to ride the fence. I really don't want to be dismissive of what Venti and others have gone through. But at the same time, I know for a fact, based off of what I'm seeing, and I could probably find empirical data on this shit. I'm sure I could find some data on this shit if no one has done the studies. Or someone has done the studies. But as far as I know for a fact that, like, this doesn't justify it, and two, this is just a fact all across the board. Whatever you've gone through, your trauma is your responsibility to get over. You shouldn't be going around blaming an entire, group of people based off of your trauma. Now people go, oh, that sounds rich coming from a black person. All they do is blame white people for everything. No, that's not the case. That's definitely not the case. There are black folks who, will fall back on that shit, fall back on racism, fall back on slavery. But then there are black folks who ask for accountability. There are black folks who simply just say, won't you just leave us alone? Because a lot of y'all racists out there, y'all overlook all the, y'all say black people need to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. And then when we do, you then cut off that damn bootstrap. We get the tools to create our own shit, and then you go and burn the shit down. When we say leave us the fuck alone, that's what we talking about. Let us do our own thing instead of your whole thing is, oh, you too damn focused on being a victim, but then it's like you did this shit to us, or you did this shit to me, and you expect me not to say anything about it? And then you had the nerve to insult me and say you don't have X, Y, and Z, and that's your problem. Instead of trying to ask us to give you everything, how about you make it for yourself? And then when we make it for ourselves, and then you burn it or take it away somehow, you steal it or whatever, and then you say, and then again, it's the cycle of, well, I'm going to look down on you because you don't have X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. But I understand, folks, when they're making a broad statement, or if they're trying to make the statement of, yo, like, we shouldn't just fall back on like trauma and whatever Venti went through. If some black girl made fun of her, if some black kids in general was like, you're not black, you're white, this is what black looks like, whatever the case is, right? That's your trauma to get over. And to do blackface and thinking, oh, I'm gonna eat some chicken and watermelon in my videos, and I bet you she's getting fucked by a white dude. I bet you she's getting fucked by a white dude. A white dude who's not gonna say anything about this because he either has the same racist sentiments, and he's gonna sit here and pretend like he ain't racist because I'm fucking this black girl. She's half black. If I was racist, listen, y'all. I see through all that bullshit. This shit, come on, y'all. Y'all can't run these games on me. You can't run. The only game I play is the one that's out of frame. It's the PS5. Over there, my nigga. Sitting over there. It's out of frame, but it's over there. It's the games that you can run on me. Alright? Other than that, stop playing with me. I see through all this bullshit. Venti, you another one. You another individual that I see right through. So I said what I said to you on Twitter. I mean every fucking word. I ain't apologizing for shit. And I'm not apologizing for calling you a bitch. This is bitch activity. Male or female, this is a straight up bitch activity. You're using your whole trauma to justify your hatred between amongst an entire group of people, instead of addressing the very people who hurt you. Because again, when white people do this, I'm pretty sure there's some white people that said some pretty nasty things to Brittany Venti, and she don't want to look around and say that's all white folk. I'm pretty sure there's she's had some unpleasant experiences with non-black and non-white people. She don't go around and say all them damn Indians, all them damn Asians, all them damn Southeast Asians, all them damn Latinos. Nah, nigga. But it's all of our fault because your dad may have not been present in your life. Your mom may have not been present in your life. Your dad may have been a shitty individual. Your mom may have been a shitty individual. Your mom or dad's side may not have been the most welcoming individual. That little girl you went to school with made fun of you. That little boy that you bullied you, or whatever the case is. It's all of our fault because of those people's actions. And then there are the situations where, because I don't want to make this video and paint it as all the Ventis in the world are created by hateful, spiteful black people. But that is a part of the equation that should not be ignored. I don't care who gets offended by it. It's the truth. If you don't want the truth, I say this all the time, whether it comes to politics, race, or anything. If you're more upset with the truth being true, how about you work at the truth not being true? If someone were to say you a fat fuck, I might not like being called a fat fuck, but if I'm a fat fuck, I'm a fat fuck, and I don't want that to be true about me. I'm gonna do something about it so I don't be looked at as a fat fuck. Now, someone could look at me and be like, you're still a fat fuck. If it's not true, it ain't true, my nigga. Like, so you may not like the fact that there are toxic black members, family members of these biracial communities. Hell, even in black on both sides, people are black on both sides like me. You know, you might not like that to be true, but denying it doesn't erase that truth. You know what I'm saying? If you don't want it to be true for your family, how about you be a black person with your black family and you be the total opposite of how your mom or your dad was? Be the black parent that, whether you want kids or not, be the black adult, let me just say, that you would have wanted in your life. if they weren't a positive influence or so, right? Be the adult in general, black, white, or whatever, in your life that you wanted. Be that individual, you know what I'm saying? And that's the God in you, you know, for those who want some spiritual talk. But I want to say this before I leave, because again, I don't want to paint it as, you know, the Ventis of the world, the Venti coffees are created because of toxic black beans, right? No. There are cases where these people genuinely just grow up with a hatred for their black side because they want proximity to white supremacy. They want proximity to what they deem is the dominant society. Venti could have had a lovely black mother or father. And still, they do this because identifying with their black side isn't what's going to get them rich, or isn't what's going to get them to feel like they are part of dominant society. So they go and do some shit like this, and they start stepping and fetching for white supremacists, and, you know, hope that's going to catapult them to, you know, a high white society. Oftentimes, Venti eventually is going to lose. Like, she's eventually going to lose. Who this? Oh God, you fucking serious, bro? I really hate when people. Alright, let me wrap this up and shit. Venti is eventually going to lose for sure. She's eventually going to lose. Because this shit never works. Like I said, I've seen many Ventis before. She's the only one with just a memorable name. But I've seen many Ventis before who tried this. And they all end up failing. Because a very white, racist audience that they try to appease to turns on them the moment they even say, hey, I think abortion should be legal. Turned. Or if they say something like, okay, that was... They even idolize like a black person, or if they say, I like that Kendrick Lamar song, that racist white thing. It could be the slightest thing. It could be the slightest thing ever that shows that they, you know, they could be rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles. You know what I'm saying? And or rooting for a black athlete, right? Or a black head coach, right, of our favorite sports team. That racist white audience will turn on them with the quickness. We knew you were one of them. We knew you were a new. We knew it. We knew it. All because she said, go Eagles. I don't know if she's an Eagles fan, but the point is being made here that these folks will turn on you quickly as well. That's why the Ventis don't win. But as with everybody who thinks that they're the special individual, they get to thinking it's not going to happen to me. And then when it does happen to them, it's me saying I told you so. But anyways, I'm going ahead and answer these texts, these face calls, or whatever, and get this video out here. Venti, if you end up watching this, still fuck you. It's your job to grow and learn from your trauma. It is not all black people's fault. Anybody that got a problem with this situation in YouTube, I'm addressing you too. I already did, but I'm addressing you again. If this video gets taken down, or when my channel gets fucked up, and while she's still able to thrive, you're never going to hear the end of me trashing you, my nigga. You just not. I am never not going to be on this. Every time YouTube, and it's not even every time, YouTube will try to get me or just people like me to let off, you know, to release our boot from their neck. But then they show time and time again why that boot deserves to be there. So yeah. That's my thoughts on this situation. Like I said, I had a different video planned. I'm going to get that video recorded and up. Had the first time, I don't know if this is the universe telling me and stuff, but I did actually end up recording it. It ended up being a 40-minute long video, so almost as long as this. But when I hit pause on it, the video got corrupted on photo booth, right? So now I have to re-record that entire video. Hopefully it's shorter than 40, but it'll be up whenever it'll be up. But there's a far more important things I needed to talk about, like this situation here. So yeah, y'all let me know what y'all think. You know, leave them comments, and yeah, until next time, until next video, you see me when you see me. Peace out.